No long intro for this video. 4 universal principles that the universe works on. You need to understand these because if you don't, you'll never lock in. And by locking in, I mean you will never achieve a long period of time where you're actually focused, where you're actually productive, where you actually don't slip up every other day. And these 4 principles will get you there. So the first principle is nothing great ever happens by accident. And I mean that. I was talking to one of my friends yesterday night, and we talked for a long time. And he just got out of a fresh relationship that, he just freshly got out of a relationship which wasn't so fresh because it lasted for 6 years almost. And I was talking to him like, where's he at right now? Has he gotten over it? Is he looking for other people? Does he want to try to get back with her or whatever? Like, where is he at mentally, especially regarding relationships? And he was like, I don't know. He didn't have any learning lessons. And I was like, hold on, wait, why don't you know? You've been with this girl for 6 years. You probably know what you like, what you're looking for in a woman. You probably know what your preferences are. You probably know if you're ready to do it or not. He's just like, I don't know. And basically, we drilled to the bottom of this by Socratic reasoning and always asking why, what's the cause of this. And we came to the conclusion that he always, went through his life with no intention. He was like, the point he was making was, every time she, let's say, got home and cleaned, he wasn't sure if he actually liked it that she cleaned, because sometimes he was like, hold on, I would have liked to clean because I felt like that was productive for me or something. I know this isn't making too much sense, but what I'm trying to get at here is that you have a bunch of situations, and every situation is put together by so many different variables, and so many different things are happening. And sometimes if something isn't, there's common denominators, meaning there's some stuff in every single situation which happen, and based on those stuff, for example, there's a bunch of times where she cleans up first and I don't have to clean, but there's different states, there's different feelings around the situations, there are different times of day, there's different times I'm feeling different about myself, and I don't really know how to come to a conclusion when I can't analyze these situations in a vacuum, because life is very complicated. And I hope I'm not losing you here, but what I mean is he never really had the intention to analyze, okay, how am I feeling right now? I was like, the point I made was like, okay, hold on. I know we can't take any one situation in a vacuum and say, hey, that time you liked her cleaning up, so you objectively like when your woman cleans for you. We were like, okay, hold on. You can't take one situation in a vacuum, but you've been in a relationship for fucking 6 years. Like, come on here. Can you just take a few situations and be like, hey, did you like when she cleaned for the most part? Because there's a bunch of them, and okay, we can't take one situation, but if you liked out of 50 times when she cleaned, you liked it 40 times, that probably means you like it when she cleans up, essentially. And we could take any example, by the way, just not just this cleaning one, but this is one that we actually talked about specifically. And he was like, yeah, but I don't know. I can't recall these examples. I don't remember these examples. I can't really analyze anyone in a vacuum because I didn't really have the intention to understand myself when I was in it. I don't even remember what I liked. I only remember times when I was emotionally fueled, when I was fired up, and when we were arguing or when we were deeply in love and stuff like this. And taking those situations as examples aren't entirely good indicators of where you want to get to. And I will tie this all back to productivity, don't worry, but what we're trying to get at is that he didn't really have the intention to understand himself. He didn't really have the awareness, essentially, to be like, okay, in this situation I'm feeling this type of way. He didn't have the emotional intelligence to actually troubleshoot, in a sense, why he's feeling the type of way that he is, and if that is a good indicator of what he wants deep in his soul. And that's why he's just I don't know, after all of these years. Although he has a decent sample size, he's like, well, I don't know what to look for. I don't know what I like. Because he just didn't analyze the situations he was in. I was telling him, okay, but recall a few situations when, just keeping with this example, when she cleaned up, and how did you feel? Do you like it when that kind of happens? And he's like, yeah, I don't know, I can't really remember it. And it was really weird to me, because I usually, I'm much more of an overthinker. I think about these things way too much, but he was like, no, I don't really know. And I think a lot of people operate like this. So, first thing, nothing ever great happens by accident. And that is, if you don't have intention, you will fail to do the thing. A lot of times when something great happens, you feel like, oh, it's an accident, it just stumbled upon me and finally I got this great thing. And although you didn't have the intention maybe at that time, overall you were still looking for the thing. Let me tie this back in. So if this guy was looking for an ideal relationship, yet he doesn't know what he likes, how does he find the ideal relationship? He doesn't. How do you find your ideal wife, your dream woman, your dream partner, or whatever, if you don't know what they look like? if you don't know what kind of characteristics they have, if you don't know what type of skills they have, if you don't know what type of traits they have, what do they look like? Like, if you can't actually reverse engineer, actually like determine what this person looks like and reverse engineer, how do I get there? How do I meet them? How do I attract them? Etc. 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 You're not going to get there. You don't have the intention to meet them because you don't know who they are. And just a few more examples to actually tie this in, because I know this is like kind of a confusing point. There's a story about Edison when he was inventing the light bulb, and he tried one way, and then he tried another way, and he tried hundreds and hundreds of times. And every single time that he failed, he was like, haha, I just found out another way to not invent it. And if I find a bunch of ways, like infinite ways to not invent it, eventually I'm going to find a way to invent it. And that's why he never gave up. Now, in the instance where he actually like made the light bulb work and it fucking lit on fire or like lit up or whatever, he didn't have the entire intention, okay, this time it's going to work, this time it's going to work, and he didn't expect it to work, okay? So in the moment, he wasn't like, okay, it's just going to happen and it's going to be awesome, because his reality was he failed like fucking hundreds of times before, and he was like, okay, this shit's just not going to work, clearly. But it did, because he had the overarching intention of, okay, if I do these kind of pieces, if I put this together, and if I do it for a long period of time, he had the intention, then it is eventually going to work. So although some of these things and these inventions that we might learn about in our textbooks, like, oh, it was he didn't even think that it was going to happen, like Columbus was sailing and on this day he wasn't even expecting to come across any land. Yeah, but why did he set ship? Why did he set sail in the first place? He obviously thought that he was going to find something. Maybe on the 306th day or whatever the fuck he found America finally, he didn't expect to like find land then, but eventually he did, okay, because he had the intention when he set sail, okay, I am going to eventually find land. So not in the micro but in the macro, you need to have intention. And that's the same with Colonel Sanders. He had a restaurant. If you don't know his story, he had a restaurant, he closed it down because he was in financial ruin pretty much, but his chicken did sell quite well, and he was like, okay, I'm going to sell my recipe for commission. I'm going to pitch a bunch of restaurant owners and I'm going to tell them, hey, I have this bomb chicken recipe. If you sell my chicken and give me a bit of commission from the sales, we can do business, right? And he pitched over 1,000 business owners. He was like, try my recipe, and the restaurant owner was like, no, what the fuck, why would I do that? I already have a recipe that works. And he failed until he didn't. He had the intention, okay, this is going to eventually work, because over all of the restaurants that exist in America, I probably have a few restaurants that are willing to try out my recipe, right? That's not too outlandish to say. Now, when he pitched the 700th owner, did he think he was going to succeed? No, he didn't. But the reason he pitched them, because he was like, if I keep doing this, it will eventually work. And this is a story of intention and persistence. Because if he went into this with no intention, he was like, yeah, I'm just going to try it, whatever, he would have quit. But if he just told himself, okay, I am going to find out how many times I have to do it in order to succeed. I'm just going to keep doing it. And although in the micro, in the now, here and now, I might think it's not going to work, because obviously it's probably not going to work, eventually it will. Eventually, if I keep piling these micro moment up of actually trying and actually putting in the effort, eventually it's going to work. And that's kind of the thing I would recommend my friend, is that every time you're in a situation, just understand why you're feeling the type of way that you are. You need to be aware. You need to be tapped into your emotions. And although in the here and now, it's nice to be here and now, but sometimes it's nice to analyze why you felt the type of way you did. And if you don't really understand yourself after 6 years of being in a relationship in regards to other people and how your relationships with them kind of factor into your happiness, you're never going to be able to reverse engineer how to find your ideal person, I guess. Because if this person draws out their life, they're 22 years now, and they want to meet their ideal wife in 32 years, let's say, then it's ideal for them to write out in a journal, how does my life look like at 32 years old? And that life would probably have a significant other in them, okay? So how does my SO look? What do they do? How do they look? What kind of traits do they have? And once you have this paper, this journal, a few pages of how do you operate around them, how do they look, what kind of habits they have, etc., as detailed as you possibly can. They don't have to be exactly like this, but having a goal to aim for, having intention, having awareness, just like these guys did, because again, these guys had intention, and these guys went into their work with the intention that overall, in a long period of time, it will fucking work. That's the exact same way I would go into dating if I was this guy. I was like, hold on, I don't have a wife now, but I'm looking for one, and I would like to have one that actually works for me, that I actually love. And the way I find her is by actually knowing what I'm looking for. And although I'm going to try a bunch of times and every single girl I'm going to meet is going to be, I don't know, probably not for me, right? Eventually, I'm going to find this person who is like the person that I wrote down in this journal, in these pages. But the thing is, if you don't have a goal, if you don't know what this looks like, if you don't know what your ideal lover looks like, then you're never going to find them. And the only way to actually have this page and to know where you want to get is by having intention and awareness in your everyday life and knowing who you are. Know thyself. That's why that phrase is so popular. It's because knowing yourself is the most important knowledge that you can possibly have on earth, because that is essentially where you're going to get to. So without any further ado, just actually please make sure you go through life with intention. If you don't know where you want to get in by the end of your life, like, that's fine. You don't need to have a mission, because you're going to change. Purpose is like an onion. You peel it layer by layer, and you're like, okay, maybe this isn't what I wanted. Peel another layer down. Okay, maybe I want to go fucking be a rocket scientist now. You do that. Okay, peel another layer. Maybe I want to be a YouTuber now. You peel another layer. Okay, I want to be a musician. You get me? Like, you actually go through layers and layers of your purpose, because it turns out what you like to do at 15 isn't going to be the same thing you like to do at 55, and that's fine. But if you can plan ahead and be like, okay, I want something in the long term, how is that thing going to look? You can do this with like job opportunities or just careers and everything, not just significant others, like my friend's example. But this is a very good exercise to do, because although you're fine with putting in the effort, you're putting in the time, you're fine with living 10 years and trying out or trying your shot at different people, I guess, you're never going to find the ideal one if you don't know what the ideal one looks like. To have intention when you're in these situations and actually document how you feel, actually understand who you are and what you really value in other people. The next thing you need to understand is that you're not good enough to lock in right now. And I know that might sound a bit offensive, I might sound a bit weird when I say that. Please trust me on this, because if you were, you would have already done it. Let me ask you this question. Is the intention there? Do you want to lock in? Yes. You clicked on this video, so the intention is clearly yes. Have you ever wanted to lock in before? Was the intention still the same? Yes, you probably have, and it probably didn't really work, or at least you stopped after a few days. This is the experience of everyone on fucking planet Earth, because it's such a universal thing. Usually it's on January 1st, but I just wrote any date here. You want to lock in. Okay, you lock in, you do it for a few days maybe. Maybe you don't even do it for a few days, but let's say you do. And then after a few days you're like, well, fuck, I failed. It didn't work. I stopped doing the habits, the motivation ceased to exist, and just things happened. Okay, life happened, and I just stopped. And then, a few days later, you go through a rut. You're feeling bad. This might even be like a longer amount of time. You're like, okay, I want to lock in. Has this happened to you before? Are you like a significantly different person? If we want to imagine you, if you played the game FIFA before, you will know what I'm talking about here. But if we had like our FIFA cards, this is us here, and we have, I don't know, we have stats, okay? We have a stat of 80, we have a stat of 70, we have a stat of 90, etc. We have a bunch of stats here. And you would imagine we have characteristics and skills and a bunch of every single thing, every single trait that we could possibly have has a statistic. Maybe my strength is 72, my intelligence is 81. You have these kind of stats, okay? If you play the game FIFA, you know what I'm talking about here. And the thing is, you are still very, very similar to who you were like a few days ago, okay? If not exactly the same. Your stats are still 80, your stats are still 70, your stats are still 90. You are pretty much the same person. So if your identity is the same and your intention is the same, do you not think that your results will also be the same? Mindfuck moment right here, I hope. You're not going to change because the inputs are exactly the same. So we need to change one of the two things. Now, how can you change either of these things? I like to explain it through this concept of democracy the best. And that might sound a bit weird, but let me explain. This is how your identity works. This is your identity right now. You have a bunch of browsing social media. This is supposed to be a Facebook logo. You have, let's say, just imagine a Greek democracy working at its finest. Let's imagine Athens. And you have all of these, I don't know what the word is in English, but basically have all of these voting ceremonies or whatever the fuck. And everyone writes their votes down onto these, I don't know the word for that either, but everyone writes the fucking votes down, okay? Stay with me here. And you have 528 votes for social media, you have 320 votes for McDonald's, and you have 242 votes for League of Legends. These are the three most voted for things to do, like parties. And that's exactly how life works. You have every single moment in your life where you're voting for something. Now, these are very arbitrary numbers, and you can't really conceptualize of this as just numbers on a board. But the thing is, every single time you do something, you're proving something to your mind that doing that thing is either fun or safe, or both. Hopefully both, because that is what your mind latches onto the best. And that is going to be good for survival, because it's not threatening to you, and you're also kind of enjoying yourself. The first one is the most important, because comfort is the biggest killer here. And the reason this becomes so important is because identity is just a defense mechanism, okay? There's nothing else at all. Identity is just a fucking defense mechanism, because every single time you were out in the wild, you did one thing, you were like, okay, this is safe, I can eat these berries. From that moment on, you really like those berries because they are no longer a danger. If you go kill a tiger, it might eat you alive. If you go eat a different batch of berries, that might kill you also. So that berry that you know that is safe, you're going to want to do. So if you play video games, if you play League of Legends, even though you're on a 4-lose streak, you kind of still want to do it because you know what it's like, it's comfortable, and it also has the upside of potentially being a bit fun, although that it doesn't really have a good reputation for that, this game. So you formed your identity, and then one day you watch a David Goggins video and you're like, I want to go on a run. I'm going to vote for running. This moment in life, I'm going to vote for running. I don't know how to draw a person running. That's a run, okay? That's a person who's running. They're smiling also, and now you have one vote for run. What do you think that one vote will achieve in this democracy? Do you think it will be laughed out the room? Because I fucking do. So everyone's going to be like, wait, hold on, we don't know running. We don't know who the fuck this is. Let's not give him any space into the parliament. Let's not make sure they don't have any chance of winning. They're not going to be the predominant thing in our life. Yeah, fuck running. Running's out of here. These are the main things. These are the people who are going to make our decisions from now on. This is how our life will be geared towards. And every single time you don't have any, you're voting for a party that isn't already in the parliament, it's going to be extremely difficult for them to get in. They don't have any backing. They don't have any perceived sense of comfort. The other people don't really think that this thing belongs here because we don't know if it's safe or not, etc., etc. So if you can imagine, this is why it's so hard to put in new habits, even if they're like somewhat good for us. How many times have you picked up a habit and you were like, fuck, I should have started that 6 months ago? I know this feeling because I've done it a bunch. Whenever I picked up a new sport, I was like, fuck, I should have done that a few months ago. Whenever I started a new class, learning like a different language or something, I was like, why didn't I do it? We have so many periods of life where we're like, for 6 months, you're just thinking about picking up this new hobby that you already know, like you've already convinced yourself that you're going to do it, but you're just like, nah, I'm just going to do it a bit later. Why? Just because it's going to be a bit hard. Like, it's going to be even harder in a few days. Even, like, let's say in 6 months you're going to start it. Now there's going to be 628 votes for Facebook. Like, congrats. It's going to be just harder for your fucking new party to get into the parliament now. Like, that's all you're achieving with this. So essentially, if you can do the hard thing and finally just fucking squeeze these parties into here and be like, no, I am going to start running. I am going to be that guy. Oh, that's a really... Holy shit, that looks a bit sound like something else. Hold on. I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to be the guy that runs. I don't give a fuck. These motherfuckers can cancel me. I'm just going to be the guy that runs. Now it's 170 votes. Now, drinking water and eating clean. It's going to be a glass of water there. Don't know if that's a good drawing or not. There's just going to be 200 votes for that. Okay, now studying, reading and shit like that. That has 300 votes. Now all of a sudden these things are safe to us. How do you think any bookworm who's just been reading since their childhood has any trouble with keeping reading, like reading every single day? It's like the easy thing to them because that's just what they're used to. So the same way you can wire your brain to do these new things. And although people like to say this word neuroplasticity, the way that your brain can be wired is the highest when you're a kid. Yeah, sure, it has some like traction, like some scientific evidence backing it up. But the thing is, it's so obviously not the case that that's the only time when you can actually wire up your brain. Because a bunch of adults can also pick up new habits. So don't confuse yourself with this. Don't tell yourself that, oh, I'm just too old for this. I've already solidified these beliefs way too hard. I just can't go from this to this. Because you fucking can. Like this will be hard. You fucked it. I'm going to be honest with you. You're not good enough. You fucked it. It's very hard for you to add these new habits of running and shit like this because your body's going to be like, okay, the instant feedback is that it's not really helpful. It's not that pleasurable. So even besides comfort and it not being comfortable, it's not even that pleasurable for you. So it's going to be really hard for you to put it into your routine. However, after you've done it a few times, your brain's going to be like, hold on, this isn't that bad. And with time, the votes that you put in for this will fade also because your brain will most likely forget most of the experiences that you've had with Facebook and McDonald's and League of Legends. So essentially, it is possible to wire your brain to work like this. But it takes time and it's hard, especially for things that don't have instant gratification wired into it, such as running, which is quite hard and quite not that fun, essentially, initially especially. So once you start running and you start convincing yourself, okay, this is kind of fun. Oh shit, I'm seeing the gains. Oh shit, this is really, really nice. Then it starts becoming more comfortable. And as it becomes more comfortable, it'll be easier for you to do every single time. This is why the gym is so good, by the way, because every single time you go to the gym and you get a good pump, you're like, oh shit, I'm looking kind of nice. I'm looking quite big. You get like a snapshot of what you will look like a few months in the future if you keep going. So that's like really nice. There's a built-in feedback loop into the gym where you like blow up your muscles a bit and you're a bit larger than you usually are just because you've push the weights and you have a pump and you're like, oh shit, I can see where I will be now. I have a snapshot. Now imagine if that worked for like running and shit like that, and you were like, oh shit, I can run like my 5k pace 2 minutes faster now. It doesn't really work like that. That's why this is like a bit harder to stick to. But if you can just imagine and keep yourself on your side and actually be like, oh shit, I'm changing. My statistics are going up. Now instead of a 90, I'm a 92. This is how you're actually changing your identity. This is starting to work. So what you need to do is to change your identity first, because you're not good enough. That's just the honest truth. How do you do this? You do this by listening to resistance. Resistance is a concept popularized by Steven Pressfield in the book The War of Art. Not the art of war, the war of art. In this book, he talks about this concept called resistance, which is the feeling that we've all come across. I really recommend you read the book, but I'm going to try to summarize the main concept of it just quickly now. Basically, resistance is that part of your brain which tells you no. When you've objectively identified that something is good for you and you're going to do it, and your brain starts bargaining with you. I like to use this term bargaining quite a lot. This is pretty much the same as resistance. So whenever you go down into Aldi and you smell the pastry aisle, you smell the nice pastries and you're like, yeah, we need to buy that. Yeah, we need to cook. Yeah, we're not going to cook at home because it takes a long time. Just buy some food right now. That's exactly this part of your brain. That's bargaining. You've already talked to yourself. You've already told yourself, we're not going to buy the unhealthy food. We're going to go home. We're going to cook. Your brain starts bargaining with you. Resistance starts to come up. Resistance to actually stick to this healthy lifestyle. No, we need to go to Aldi. We need to buy these pastries. Or it might say, oh, it's on auction right now. It's on sale. You can actually buy the thing for much cheaper right now. Why don't you do it? Like, are you stupid? That's another thing it could say. It could also say, yeah, it's the tastiest thing ever. Do you not want to be happy? Do you not want happiness in your life? You know how tasty it is, right? So it can manifest in so many different ways. Procrastination, just random excuses, everything that is telling you not to do the thing that you know is good. You've determined that it's good previously. Now you're thinking it's not. Now you're giving into this voice. This is resistance. And the way that Steven Pressfield talks about this is the best way to combat resistance is to understand it first, is to spot it. And the best thing that you can understand, if your brain is going into this bargaining mode, if you develop the awareness to realize when you start bargaining with yourself, this is almost as good as it gets, because this is an indicator. This is your brain telling you, hold on, this is resistance. Resistance only comes up when I'm trying to do something good. So that means I must do this. So instead of listening to resistance as a force that pushes us away from the given thing, be like, hold on, this is resistance. And resistance only picks up when we have a thing that is objectively good for us. So wait, why the fuck don't I just do it? So instead of using this and actually being pulled towards the negative and being pushed back, actually start being pulled towards it and be like, hold on, this is resistance. This is a chance for me to vote for myself. You understand how these two things are interlinked heavily? This is a chance for me to vote for the good thing. I'm feeling incredible resistance now because there's a good decision that I know that I should do, but resistance is popping up and it's telling me not to do it, and I'm feeling this push away from the thing. This is a chance for me to vote myself. This is a chance for me to take one step closer towards having this as my identity in a year's time. This is objectively the good choice that I need to make. And it's really hard. Now that I've told you this, you're not going to do it every single time. I promise you that. I'm not going to delude you. I'm not going to give you fake advice. But what you need to do is to understand this. Is to develop the awareness to understand it as often as possible. If you can spot resistance, if you can tell yourself, oh shit, I'm feeling this now. Every single time you actually understand it, you must lean into it. You must tell yourself, I objectively, when I thought through this thing, I came to the conclusion that this would be for the greater good. I would be better off if I listened to this. I would be better off if I went for a run. I would be better off if I didn't buy pastries and learn to cook at home. I would be better off if I studied right now. I know that my brain is going to tell me that, oh shit, you should clean the house, studying isn't that important, you can do it later. This productive procrastination, we all know how that happens, don't we? It will tell you, oh no, you need to clean, call your mother. We all know how that's still productive procrastination. We all know how, oh no, you're not qualified enough, you're going to fail anyway, it doesn't really matter. Same thing. There's so many manifestations of resistance, but once you start noticing it, and once you start realizing, oh shit, this is actually here every day, so many times we still hear this voice in our head, and we're not really conscious of it. So you need to develop consciousness. We need to develop awareness of this. So every time now this pops up, I want you to recognize it, and I want you to start acting in the way in which you want to become. So if you really want to lock in, how about you make yourself a person that is actually able to lock in? And just to finish this section off, you need to understand that locking in isn't a goal. Locking in is like a specific thing that you have in your brain. Okay, I watched an Iman Gadzhi video. I need to do these 5 tactics. I need to do them this often. I need to wake up at this time. And maybe just be honest with yourself. Your routine is too strict for you. This is your routine. You wake up at fucking 4 a.m. You do this habit. You do this habit. You do this habit. How about I am not at that rate right now? I haven't disciplined myself in the past few months. I've voted for the wrong things. I am not becoming the person I want to become, but I can change that. Again, don't bash yourself, take accountability, but be realistic, in this sense at least. Tell yourself, okay, I'm going to lock in. I'm just not at this level. What I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start waking up at 6 a.m. instead. And I'm going to do one of the 5 habits in my morning routine, because I really don't, I can't be asked to do a cold shower, then meditate, because I haven't really done these stuff. And doing all of them would be too tiring. And even if I could do them for a few days, I know that I wouldn't continue on my whole entire monk mode protocol. I know that I would get burnt out in a few days, just like you did previously. How about you tell yourself, okay, the way I'm going to not only do the monk mode now, but also get better to make sure that I can do this monk mode in a few months, is by I'm going to start voting for myself. I'm going to start giving myself a realistic protocol that I can actually follow, and slowly but surely, I'm going to start becoming a person who can. I will become he who can, because if you don't, you will never become that person. Again, you don't have a problem of having the wrong information. You don't have a problem of not knowing the path to your goal. You have a problem of not being the person who can get there. If your goal is to make $10,000 a month, if your goal is to achieve financial freedom or anything like that, if we put Elon Musk in your place, he would become a millionaire in an instance, right? Because he just has the brain. He just has these characteristics leveled up. If he had no contacts, no one knew his name, etc., like he had no any form of capital, any form of leverage, he was in your entire exact situation, but he had his brain, he would become a millionaire instantly. I hope we can agree with that. He didn't get lucky. He's a very, very good entrepreneur, no matter what you think of him. He has these stats maxed out. He has this identity leveled up to the max, to where he has the business knowledge, where he has the discipline, etc., etc. What you need to do is become a different person by doing the good habits and learning and making sure you actually become he who can by self-education and discipline. Those are the 2 biggest things, but you understand how there's a bunch of habits and a bunch of traits and skills that go into this. So just level yourself up, and then you will become he who can. And once you give yourself this input of I will lock in, you will actually lock in, because now you can. The next lesson about lasting productivity is he who has a why can bear almost any how. Everyone thinks this quote was invented by Viktor Frankl, and although he popularized it in Man's Search for Meaning, it's actually invented by Friedrich Nietzsche. That's another point. This is a very, very important one, maybe the most important one in this whole video, and I didn't put any fucking fluff in here. So this talks about desires and how our desires are often false, and if they are true, we shouldn't really be worried about how or when or stupid questions like this. Say your goal right now. What do you want to achieve? What do you want to achieve in the next few years? What's the most important one single goal that you want to achieve? Say it literally aloud while you're watching this video. Mine is, for example, financial freedom for me and my family. That's a cool one. So, once you've said your goal, and you're worried about, well, how am I going to get there? When am I going to get there? Oh, fuck, man, this is so hard. Think of these things. I had a desire a few months ago to start doing calisthenics. I was in the gym, and I was watching this guy doing planche push-ups and handstands and shit like this, and I was like, wow, man, that guy probably gets bitches. Like, yeah, it's so cool, man. And it's probably like a more fun way of training, because I'm getting kind of bored of this weight training and resistance training and shit. And I was like, yeah, what I'm going to do now is go to the rooftop after every single exercise routine I do in my gym, and I'm going to go up, and for 15 minutes I'm going to try a new calisthenics move. And a week later I was like, what the fuck? Like, why? What is my why? How strong? On a scale of 1 to 10, how strong do you think my why was? What's my why rating? How strong is my why? It's probably like a 2. Just because I saw someone else do it and it looked cool, now I'm going to dedicate hours of my life every single week to this thing. Does that sound like a compelling goal to you? Does that sound like something that you'd wake up with cold sweats for in the middle of the night? Now, I'm not saying you need to wake up with cold sweats in the middle of the night, God forbid, but it isn't enough to get you out of bed in the morning, even though you're probably past your bedtime. That is like a fucking weak-ass fucking excuse for a goal. So you shouldn't really do what I did, because this is not a good goal to have. Now, you might be inspired by other people, you might have ideas put into your head by other people, and then later tell them, or tell yourself that, okay, that's kind of realistic, I should probably do that because it enhances another goal that I had, or it transpires with something that I was previously telling myself, whatever the case may be. But this is just pussy shit. Don't tell me about this kind of shit, because it's really, really a sorry excuse for a goal. A good goal would be about this guy. There's a guy on YouTube, I don't know his name or anything, I don't really watch him, but he had an absent father. And his father was never there, and he was raised by a single mother. And he went on and he started making videos about, like, teaching other kids without fathers how a man should react, how to be a gentleman, when to buy flowers for the girl, how to be just an all-around gentleman, how to tie your shoes, how to tie a tie, and just shit like this. And now he's making videos, and now this is his career. Do you think this is a good goal? Do you think this is a strong why? I think it fucking is. I think it's 8 or a 9 or maybe even a 10, potentially, because it's like, I experienced this deep pain of something, for example, in this case, not having a father, and I want to make sure that no one else on the world goes through this, or at least if they do, their experience is a bit more pleasurable than mine, a bit more pleasant. That's amazing. And that's a strong why, because he wakes up and he's like, fuck man, I've got to change the world. And he's having like a serious impact, because having an absent father is a serious problem. And not having the coolest gym routine so a few girls don't glance at you every single month a few times isn't a big problem. So you understand what I'm getting at. Try to actually analyze your desires, because a lot of them might be external, like this one. Not real desires, just stuff you picked up from society and you started doing them, and there's no real backbone to it, and that's why you're struggling, because it's not even a priority in the first place. And why the fuck are you even trying? But for the real goals that you have, for example, this guy's goal, that's amazing, and you shouldn't really try too hard to do it, because it should come by itself. Now, this is also why watching videos like this, David Goggins, Jocko Willink, Alex Hormozy screaming at you like, you're a pussy, start, grind harder, etc, etc, etc. It's like, why? Like, if your goal is hard enough, you will want to grind, trust me. And I'm not saying you will always be motivated. Obviously, there will be tougher days, there will be darker times. Every single time you try to do something, it isn't going to come into fruition too easily. But watching shit like this is also a bad motivator. Like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how hard do you think I got motivated by watching a video? Someone else telling me I'm a pussy who doesn't even know I exist. That isn't too big of a pain. If we were to objectively quantize how big of a pain is, random person on the internet doesn't know I exist, called me a pussy. 0? I don't know. It's not that serious, is it? It's probably somewhere around here. So, again, this doesn't get anything accomplished. Soul searching gets something accomplished. Okay, actually understanding that if I've set myself a goal that's meaningful and I tie it to something that I really want to accomplish, even if I want to do money, like make money, what I said, achieving financial freedom, if I do it in a way where I'm fucking soulless and I'm not actually helping the world and I don't really care about it, that's going to be much harder. The reason why I really like making videos is because I fucking know how it feels. I fucking know how it feels going through fucking days like it's nothing. I know how it feels waking up and going to bed knowing that I didn't do fucking shit today. I know how shit it feels. I know how horrible it is. I know how you can waste years of your life doing this shit, man. And you can get the most amount of work done in a few months, and then the next year you get nothing done. And you feel like shit. And your days are ruined. I know what it feels like. And that's why I picked this model, and that's why I quit my marketing agency, which was making bank, by the way. But I literally quit it because I was like, I wasn't being fulfilled. I had trouble waking up. Waking up was like, I wake up half an hour later than I'm supposed to, and I get this cortisol shot because I have to do this for this client that I don't even like, and do that for that client that I fucking hate. And it's just a horrible experience, man. So this is so much more fulfilling to me. And that's exactly why I'm doing it. And the final quote that I want to say before I close this section off is, this is what hard feels like. Although I like to bash on these guys, this is a quote I learned from Alex Hormozy, and I think it's really, really valuable, because every single time you do even these kind of things, like, do you think this guy who's making the videos for people with absent fathers likes setting up his camera and dealing with the problem of his camera being constantly out of focus, or maybe breaking a lens, or not knowing how to please the YouTube algorithm. Like, there's a bunch of things that aren't actually too adjacent to the problem you're solving. Even if you go into a niche that you really like, even if you're like on a very purposeful mission, there's going to be parts of that mission which you really don't give a fuck about. You understand how even if you start a family business about selling your grandmother's necklaces, like, you're going to have to file taxes, okay? So not every single part of the process you're going to like. There are going to be times which are hard, which get hard. And what you need to tell yourself is, this is what hard feels like. Every single time it gets hard. This is very akin to the resistance thing, by the way, in the previous point. You can think, oh, damn, this is too hard, I quit. That can be a thought process. That's the logical thought process. I'm not going to bash it. This is what most people think like. But you could also think, damn, this is hard. I know that because this is hard, a lot of people will have this thought and they will quit. So I will continue. 99% of people will quit when shit gets hard. You can celebrate. You can use this as an opportunity to be like, fuck, well, this is hard. That means most people are going to quit. That means if I just push through this period, which is really hard right now, I will succeed eventually. You understand how we just spun the whole thing around and just experienced that, okay, I'm having this thought. That means I've got to be in this together with other people. Other people have to be having this thought. Other people have to be quitting right now. Why should I quit? Why should I stop this when I'm so deep into this? And obviously, if it's like something not for you, don't give into sunk cost fallacy and actually quit. But if it's something that you really like, if it's something you give it like an 8, 9, or a 10, and you're like, okay, I need to do this, but things get hard, like especially if you're doing something that requires other things, like, as I said, every business nowadays requires filing taxes, talking to unhappy customers, customer service, just doing some shit that's fucking boring or just even like painful. Is this reason enough, things getting a bit hard, reason enough for you to quit the good thing? Because I bloody hope not. So actually lean into the fact that other people are feeling this too. And if they aren't as drawn to this as you are, they will quit. They will be like, too hard. Damn it, I'm gonna quit. Enough for me. Done. Bye. That means more for you. Bigger piece of the pie for you if you continue going on. And the final point I want to touch on is that we're all special snowflakes. We're all different. No matter what anyone tries to tell you online, that you need to do this, you need to... They're all trying to sell you something, okay? I'm going to be the first to admit it. They're all trying to sell you something. They're all doing this not because they're fucking philanthropists. It's because they have some way to profit out of it. So every single time we do something, it's exclusive to us. We have different lives, we have different preferences, we have different genetics, we have different everything. That's what makes this human experience so pretty, in my opinion at least, is that we're all different, yet we have so much in common at the same time. So some people start their journey of self-actualization through a big event. Most people do. Something happens and that is the thing for you. I have 2 events that I'm not really especially going to talk about because they're very, very deep. But you might have 1, you might have 2 big things in your life which changed the trajectory of your life forever. That is the point. You will know what I'm talking about, by the way. I don't even have to give you like any journaling prompts or questions. You probably will know what happened or that actually changed you. For some people, this could be heartbreak. Some girl broke your heart, broke up with you in high school, and now you hit the gym every fucking day like a maniac. Or someone died when you were young. Maybe it's a sister, maybe it's a brother, maybe it's a relative, maybe it's a friend, and now you became a scientist who wants to research the cause of their death for that disease or something. It could be anything, and that gives you very, very immense amount of power, amount of energy when you think about this. And the most common pieces of advice that I receive on the internet is, oh no, don't lean into this because it's egotistic. Don't lean into this because it's not healthy fuel because it will burn out eventually. I can't be asked. Even imitating that made me want to fucking puke inside because who the fuck are you? Who the fuck are you to tell me why I can't relive and go back into my old experiences? And truth be told, reliving these experiences too often and going into this negative spiral of, fuck, I regret this, I should have done something different, will put you in a low frequency. You will be in a bad mood, you will make bad decisions. But kind of like reliving these in not the sense as actually being like, I don't know, ungrateful for yourself and feeling regret and shit like this, but actually just being aware of the situation, reminding yourself of what the goal is and how your life has changed and what you think of right now, and just somewhat like experiencing this thing again that gives you so much energy is a good thing, in my opinion. Now, obviously, if you're going to change your whole direction in 30 years and you're no longer going to think of this thing that happened to you and you're just going to switch your motivation to something that's pure, to something that's pretty, to something that's humanistic. Like, for example, when I said at the beginning of like the last point that you have these different desires on a scale of 1 to 10, you could lean into something that is like a very, very big motivator for yourself. That's something like a 7 or an 8 or maybe a 9. Yet these are kind of unhealthy. You imagine you don't want to be getting back at your ex when you're fucking 35 years old. That's a bit cringe. But for example, for this kid who's just got in the gym and he's getting back at his ex, why not? Everyone tells you it's a bad thing. Everyone tells you it's cringe. Why? Tell me why. Maybe I'm going to change my mind after this video, but I really I've thought about this a lot, and I really think doing this shit and being like, okay, I'm going to use whatever the fuck I want to use, whatever gives me energy, and thinking about that bitch that treated me wrong, or that person who died and I really fucking loved them, it's going to give me immense amounts of energy. And why not lean into that? Why not give myself a 9 or 8 out of 10 energy source just because someone on the internet told me that it's cringe and it burns out and you can't do that for a few years? Yeah, maybe when I'm making like a lot of money and when I've actually like made something of myself and I'm this rich fucking CEO businessman, then I'm going to switch my motivation to something else, and I'm going to try and to use it for the greater good or do it for the better of humanity, and I'm going to switch my motivation, which you very much can do, by the way. But the thing is, for now, why not? Why not rely on this thing? And the reason why no one really tells you this advice is, one, because it's a bit cringe, going back and being mad at your ex or reliving this negative situation, or just because people don't want to acknowledge that we're all different. People don't want to acknowledge that we work differently. People want to say, okay, so you need to do this form of meditation. You need to do this type of vision board exercise. And all of these manifestation people will tell you that their way is the best, but it's all different. And the reason why it's all different is because we're all fucking different fundamentally. And that also means that we have different beliefs. So if you want to ask yourself which kind of habit gives me the most energy, which kind of manifestation technique gives me the most chance of being successful, which one do you think it is? Is it tarot cards? Is it affirmations, telling yourself random shit? Is it vision boards, looking at images that excite you? Is it there's a bunch of these kind of techniques. Which one do you think actually works? Which one do you actually believe in? Do you have success meditations? Do you have vision boards? What do you have? What do you think, if you picked one, which one is the most successful statistically? Which one would it be? Actually say it out loud to make sure you have an answer. Write it down in the comments, say it out loud, whatever you want. Say it out loud now. And I'm going to tell you that you're correct. Whichever you picked is correct. Because what these habits all stand on, the basis of them all, is literally to get this feeling inside of you elevated. And you will only feel the type of way if you actually believe in it. Let me give you an example. If this famous CEO guy told you shit like, hey, you need to do this method for 3 months and you will get rich. You need to do this exercise for this month, this amount of months, and you will get jacked. How would you feel? You would probably do it a few times because you trust the guy or something, but you don't really believe in it. And after a few times, you would be like, oh, fuck, I can't believe this. So even if something isn't objectively real, even if something isn't objectively correct, if you believe it, you will get the placebo effect, and you will start being like, yeah, I'm doing good, I'm doing it correctly, etc., etc. And that will reaffirm this in your mind. You will get more dopamine to do the thing, and you will be like, yeah, keep going, I'm on a good path. But if you don't believe in it, and you're doing something that's realistic, yet you don't believe in it, even if it is realistically the better thing to do, you will be like, I don't know if this is working. And on a few days in, when your discipline runs out, you're going to be like, yeah, what the fuck is this shit anyway, man? I can't be asked, I'm not going to do this. You get me? So obviously the best thing is if you have reality on your side and you're still believing in the thing. So if you actually have something that's scientifically backed up and you believe in it working. But the thing is, if you just have a bunch of these kind of manifestation things right now and you need to give yourself a source of energy from wherever you want to get this source of energy from, and you have something that you genuinely believe in, and every single time you try to get energy from it, you thought about it, or you did the exercise, or you did the breathing technique, or whatever the fuck it may be, if you experience that it worked for you, good. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. It worked for you. Good. Okay? The only thing that you can get from these things is the belief that you're on the right path, is to get fired up, is to get put in a higher frequency. Emotionally charged thoughts. That's very, very important. There we go. Emotionally charged thoughts. if you make a vision board, if you make your fucking cards, or I don't know what the fuck you guys are into, if you make your I don't know, manifestation technique or wind up routine or however you get energy in a way where you don't really feel anything when you look at it. If you kind of think, if you take someone else's affirmations, let's say, that's a good example. People have these videos online, watch these things and say this to yourself every day and you'll get successful. If you don't really believe in it, you're like, yeah, I am very abundant in money. Money comes to me naturally. And you're saying it and you don't believe in it and you don't feel a fucking thing. It's not going to work. The point is to fire you up. The point is to convince you that you're on the right path. The point is to give you energy. The point is to give yourself a fucking pat on the back because you deserve it. Now, if you don't believe in it, if the thoughts are just thoughts and you're getting them implanted into your mind, but you're not emotionally charged, you're cooked, okay? The point is for you to actually believe it and for you to actually look at the image of your vision board or your card or whatever the fuck you use and be like, yeah, that's working. That's me. Yes, I fucking feel that, man. I can't believe she wronged me. I can't believe I let her go. I can't believe none of these fucking doctors had any kind of medicine for that disease. You understand? Oh yeah, I really want that. I really want to help these people. I really want to make a change. If you kind of feel something, if your feeling is emotionally charged, only then will you actually get energy from it. So we're all different. This doesn't only go through manifestation techniques, by the way. I know I took this video a bit more towards the spiritual realm towards the end, but actually just think about habits in general. Do you think cold showers will help you? If you don't, then don't fucking do them. It doesn't make sense. If you keep doing something, you will experience this. You'll be like, yeah, I don't know if it works. You're using a bunch of your willpower, using a bunch of your discipline, and you're just going to stop eventually. Maybe you do it for a few days. Maybe you, oh yeah, come on, David Goggins, you can do it. But then it's just going to waver out, just like we talked about in the previous point. It's not going to last forever if it's like a 2 or 3 out of 10 level motivation kind of thing. It's just going to be like, yeah, what the fuck is this anyway? I know Huberman said that it gives me dopamine, but I just feel fucking cold after doing the cold shower. So just fuck off. I just can't be asked. So do whatever works for you.